Bozzzton with a 6-3 record. His tiebreakers must have been very good because he still did qualify there for the top 16. BoarControl's Rogue banned away Bozzzton's Warlock, and that was an even Warlock from Bozzzton, I believe. BoarControl, is that a Quest Rogue, I'm assuming?
It is.
All right, and then BoarControl has Druid Hunter and that Q block, which he has been famous for over this weekend. Bozzzton with Druid Hunter and the Shutterwalk Shaman.
Yeah, BoarControl has been rocking that Q block on and off on his stream for quite a long time now.
Possibly have, actually, in the whole lineup. These are two great players. Again, we're both strong supporters of BoarControl, but it wouldn't be fair to say Bozzzton doesn't deserve a place in the top 8 also.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. You know, I was joking a little bit with BoarControl because got to show support for my main man, BoarControl. But Bozzzton, I have a lot of respect for his play he's made this tournament, and also his lineup. While I would say BoarControl has gone one step further, he's really absolutely nailed, I think, what this meta called. Bozzdon's lineup is just a best hits of the Boomsday meta. I think it's just a best of, where all his decks are just good. They're just the best decks from this meta, so why not bring them all?
And also the Witchwood meta. I think these 4 decks have been around since then as well.
That's
so
a fair point.
It really is just the best of for the last 6 months of Hearthstone. And time to show just how good these decks are. We're starting off with BoarControl's Q block versus Death Rattle Hunter. And we were literally just discussing this matchup a few moments ago and saying, oh, who do we think's favored here? And my argument was, in the games that we saw yesterday with BoarControl, he Prince Taldarum with Umbrid, his opponent's cubes, and got some pretty silly stuff from those. And I think just the stuff that the Cube Warlock can cheat out those plays maybe does lend it to having a slight advantage.
Yes, I think kind of if nothing silly happens and no crazy occurrences occur, the Hunter will be in the lead. It will just carry on and stay ahead. But crazy stuff is what Q-Block does best. Silly things just tend to happen when that deck is being played. For example, Prince Taldarum, like you said, it can be used on a cube later on in the game. But it can also just be thrown down on an egg. If Bozzzton was to go egg on turn 3, then just an instant response of Prince Taldarum to give himself a 3-3 egg that still summons a 5-5 is an incredibly powerful play to make, and that is why I would imagine BoarControl kept the Taldarum.
That would be a very good egg.
Oh, yeah.
3 mana, 3-3, Death Rattle summon a 5-5? Yeah, seems good.
Ooh.
That's a good weapon, though.
That is indeed. Bozzzton, I imagine, won't be expecting the skull to come off the top. Given that BoarControl kept 2 cards, Bozzzton would be very unsurprised for one of them to be the skull, I think, because you keep it pretty much every matchup. But either way, getting that ooze, I believe, was absolutely the right choice because it wasn't up against Katharina or Rexar off the tracking. So just get that down and snipe off the skull.
So, BoarControl is a Warlock. It's turn 4. That Giant is green. Pretty sure he just plays that, right? Like you said, the Prince Taldarum on the egg is obviously worth consideration this turn. And I guess Giant is weak to Hunter's Mark Candle shot exactly. But still, come on.
Yeah,
Giant.
So the Giant, like you said, is weak to that exact combination, which Bozzzton unfortunately has access to. It's also weak, however, potentially at a later date, to Spider Bomb Play Dead. And so those are the 2 things that your Giant can die to in a surprising fashion. It's Hunter's Mark and Spider Bomb. And BoarControl here, while he has the 2-1 Librarian in play, it means if Spider Bomb Play Dead were the play, it would only be a 50-50. Yep. So I really like this play from Boar, just getting down that Giant now, even though he did have access to, like you pointed out, the Prince Taldarum a little bit earlier.
We can probably see how the next couple turns are going to go, though. The weapon available for BoarControl now. He's going to think about it. Maybe there's a play he can make that doesn't involve playing that weapon. Maybe now is a good time to play that Prince Taldarum. A play that is less weak to Acidic Swamp Ooze, as the Ooze just shuts down BoarControl if he goes with the Skull this turn.
I think shuts down is a bit strong.
It's a big tempo loss.
It's a big loss. I agree.
Wasting 5 mana on something... 5 mana do nothing, essentially. Yeah. 5 mana force your opponent to play Ooze next turn. It hurts.
I wonder, though, if we just... imagine we're in BoarControl's shoes. Try to ignore Bozzdon's hand for the moment.
Love to be in BoarControl's shoes. I'd be a lot better at Hearthstone.
You would be significantly better at Hearthstone, but you wouldn't be talking to me right now. So
yeah,
clearly
I'd love to be in BoarControl's shoes.
I think we might... sorry, so he is thinking there could very potentially be a cube in his opponent's hand. It's not a ridiculous assumption to make at all. If it was offered off the tracking, Bozzzton probably would have picked it. Against which he does kind of want to save the Prince Tal'Daram, because I think it's past the point where he wants to use it on egg, if at all possible.
I agree, yeah. That was a consideration really on turn 3, but not at all after that. Getting a 3-3 egg just doesn't do enough from this point of the game onwards. He's got the Lackey, he's got the Dark Pacts, not quite the mana to play both this turn anymore.
Yeah, if he tried this 6 months ago, it would have. He could have played it right now, and it would have gained him 4 more health.
But what other options does that leave for Boar? He can Hellfire, which just gives his opponent a 5/5. Put BoarControl on 12 health. It's getting a little bit risky at this point.
Yeah, I don't see any Defile nonsense as well, even with a Tal'Daram thrown in there.
Maybe he can... All I'm seeing really is Hellfire Beetle.
Computing.
Then next turn he can play the Lackey and the Dark Pact. But the problem is he's drawn one of his Void Lords.
It's only a 33% for the one he actually wants.
Yeah.
And then he's getting dangerously close to Bozzzton, just throwing down a straight up coin Katharina. This, I mean, this is what happens a small portion of the time with Q-Block, where it is a deck that if the answers are there for it, it looks so pathetic. Like, this deck looks like an absolute joke at the moment, because every single one of its power plays has been dealt with. If you're a deck that doesn't run Weapon Destruction or Silence or particularly good hard removal like Druid, Q-Block can just go insane. It does whatever it wants and it wins the game the vast majority of the time. But when you have all the answers in your decks to pick it apart piece by piece, it just doesn't do anything.
From next turn onwards, Bozzzton can consider playing Katharina. Katharina pulling out cards like King Crush.
Oh, yes.
Potentially delivering a lethal to BoarControl very soon. BoarControl needs to see a Void Lord from this Lackey. That's pretty much his only option at this point.
Yep. Umbra into Tal'Daram doesn't give any immediate death rattles, so that's obviously not a consideration. I think, like you said, Lackey Pact is the way to go. Even if you just get a Doomguard, you're still trading in.
Yeah.
Maybe it can trade evenly on the board next turn. There's something that you can do, but a third of the time, he gets the very good news that he has the Void Lord. And this is that time.
So if that was a Doomguard, he trades with the Devilsaur, and then he's still dead to King Crush.
Yes.
And that's the problem. But this way, BoarControl is very safe.
Well, not in this instance, because there's a Mossy Horror to take down all the Wanderers and allow most of this damage to just carry directly onto BoarControl's face anyway. Bozzzton's just had everything. He's had every single responsive card, and they've all met their mark.
Okay, BoarControl, back to the drawing boards.
Another Lackey?
Second Defile, there's got to be something here. I don't think there is.
I don't know if there is. I don't think he can even survive on board, even ignoring the Katharina. I think that's just going to be game 1 for Bozzzton.
Wow.
Destroy.
And the deck that pretty much everyone, casters included, have been praising throughout the whole tournament, looks like it's just going to be losing the first game. Yeah, Boar's face says it all.
Yeah, that's going to leave BoarControl with just Death Rattle Hunter and Token Druid. Not the time you want to be losing BoarControl. You may have been almost undefeated in the Swiss. This is now single elimination top 16. He's going to need to come back with his other 2 decks. And I think that is possible. Again, I think BoarControl's lineup generally looking pretty favoured against Bozzzton's.
And by the way, BoarControl, if you're watching back this stream, if you are looking for any more emotes to add to your stream, the last 10 seconds of your face on stream is probably about 50 emotes in there, just with all the expressions you make as you just got summarily destroyed.
That's a cute little note to BoarControl.
Silver linings, eh?
Yeah. So, BoarControl needs to find a counter to Death Rattle Hunter now. He can cue the Mirror or he can cue Token Druid. Either way he chooses, it's about a 50-50 matchup, I think.
Yeah, I think maybe a little while ago was too much on the Token Druid side versus Hunter.
Too.
It's not that insane of a matchup. There's a lot of response that Bozzzton can go for. There's the obvious flashy, powerful cards in the matchup like Rexar and Mossy Horror, but also just curving out. Just playing out your minions, playing Candle Shot, Flanking Strike. That very often does a good enough job in the early game of picking apart the Token Druid.
We saw in a game earlier today the strength of Witchwood Grizzlies in this matchup as well. Grizzlies getting cubed and play-deaded.
Play deaded?
Sure, let's go with that. Getting cubed and play deaded. It's just too much taunted health on the board for the Token Druid to get past.
BoarControl, a little bit hesitant, it would seem, to keep the Nourish, although he is a player who, in his mulligan, always crosses all of his cards first and then uncrosses him. And it always makes me incredibly anxious, because it's like he'll click on Prince Keleseth and then unclick it again afterwards, and it gives me a minor heart attack. As that is much more the kind of hand that he is looking for.
Wild Growth, check. Nourish, check. All right, good to go.
And, I mean, also, Whispering Woods, check. That is a really powerful card in this matchup when the immediate response that Hunter has is quite severely limited.
The only issue with Whispering Woods, for me at least, is that the hand size isn't quite going to be there on turn 3 when you'd like to play it. Then again, it's...
You get 6 guys.
Okay, do you know what? That's about as good as it gets, actually. I take it back. Of course, still having the coin.
And I think he goes for it. Like, if Candleshot was available on turn 1, he would have played it.
Oh, he's got Savage Roar now as well.
I mean, Soul of the Forest, like, this is just every reason to go for it.
He's counting, though. I wonder which part of BoarControl is doubting this play. Obviously, he's studying all of the possible outcomes, and obviously, for him, it's not a simple 100% slam this card down.
No, of course not. I think the main thing he'll be calculating on this turn is, well, first of all, he's thinking, how many turns is it before I can play Whispering Woods and Soul of the Forest on the same turn? Which is 2, because you go coin Nourish and then 2 turns away, or you go Nourish next turn and then turn after. And I think he's come to the same conclusion I was thinking of. The punish for this is going to be very small. It's Mind Control Tech. Mind Control Tech plus Candleshot is the absolute worst thing that can happen. And that's very unlikely to happen, because Candleshot would have been played by now. And if the removal isn't there, the upside is so big, because you just get to slam a Soul of the Forest.
Yeah, Houndmaster Shore is about as good a counter as Bozzzton could come up with, but BoarControl might just Soul of the Forest and trade all 6 Wisps into Houndmaster Shore, leaving him with a board of 2/2s. Bozzzton can't Rexar that board yet. He can't Mossy Horror that board yet. And BoarControl will be free to Savage Roar next turn, dealing 4 damage per minion.
It is indeed looking rather scary. I think BoarControl would rather not give away the Death Rattles that willingly, because it's unlikely he gets a complete 1-turn kill next turn, unless he picks up the second Savage Roar, obviously. And therefore it's looking like he might have to get chip damage in, which means it could take enough time to the point where Bozzzton will be able to play Rexar or Mossy Horror.
I mean, BoarControl will have 27 damage next turn. If he does play Soul now, trade everything in, and the next turn...
That's a lot of damage.
Go Savage Roar Hero Power, that's 27, and then Swipe is, in theory, just lethal the following turn. So, it's close.
A fair point. That is a good point. So if he goes Soul of the Forest, Spellstone on this turn, he could trade in 4 of the minions into the Houndmaster Shore, and then the other 2 go face.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
Yeah.
So, again, given that we're on turn... only on turn 4 for Bozzzton going into turn 5, given that there's no clear-cut way of answering this, he's dealt with Houndmaster Shore, we've seen that Mind Control Tech isn't present. How does Bozzzton deal with this? At most, he deals with what? 1 with a Flanking Strike, 2 with Spider Bomb double played it. Then BoarControl just almost has lethal next turn.
Yeah, this was just a really nice spot by BoarControl. Just, if anything had been slightly different, it could have worked out so differently. Like if a Candleshot had been played, there might not have been enough damage to kill off the Shore without playing the Spellstone as well, and then there wouldn't be enough damage for lethal. It gets really, really close very quickly indeed, but it's just working out in this perfect storm for BoarControl, where, like you said, he will be able to deliver pretty much lethal damage on the following turn.
Yeah, he can deal 27 damage and then still have the mana to use the Spellstone next turn if he needs to.
So Bozzzton here obviously counting up, first of all, how much damage is likely to be dealt to him. I think he will quickly realize it's, in a realistic world, only 26 or 27 in the form of Savage Roar.
All right.
Or the Branching Paths, but Power of the Wild off the top leads BoarControl to a nice dollop of justice as he gets one of the most disgusting Druid games it's possible to have. A turn 5 lethal Tell me that's not an aggro deck.
What is it with BoarControl and disgusting games this tournament? Like, some of his games yesterday with Q-Block were disgusting, and now he's like, okay, my Q-Block's been eliminated, but this'll do, I guess.
He is playing decks that when the answers are there, they look miserable. But when all the pieces work together, they all look insane. Like all of his decks, Q-Block, if you can get the combos with Skull and Cube working together, it looks unbeatable. Hunter, Egg and Playdead, it looks unbeatable. Token Druid, if you can get a hand like that, it looks unbeatable. And so it does lead to these very dramatic games, which is why I love watching him play so much. He plays these styles of decks that always lead to explosive victories or devastating losses.
So, Bozzzton left with Shadowhawk Shaman or Malygos Druid to try and counter this Token Druid, and I think he's going to have to go with his Druid. Again, this is close to a 50-50 matchup, and this is an important game.
I, as a mainly Malygos Druid player, always lose this matchup.
Really?
I'm doing something so wrong in this matchup, and I agree with you. In the matches I cast, it always seems to go a little bit smoother for the Malygos Druid than it does in my own experience.
It's funny because people say that Token Druid is weak against other Druid decks.
Yeah.
But from what the stats tell us is that it's close to 50-50.
No.
Your stats may speak otherwise.
It is tough to play against. Not even trying to absolve myself.
Token Druid? Yeah.
It's difficult to play against.
That's one of the things I've been saying about this deck, even before the Boomsday came out. I think that's probably the biggest factor about Token Druid is not that it's difficult to play, though it is, but it's difficult to play against. It's very difficult to work out when you're playing too much into a Spreading Plague, which will then kill you on the backswing.
Very delicate dance. As, again, one of the unspoken things we've been talking about here is it is a battle to see, or for the Malygos Druid, how much can I survive? Do I have to play a Spreading Plague here? Because if I do, I just get met with a counter Spreading Plague and then I lose. But if I don't go for a Spreading Plague, then he'll hit me for 28 damage with all his 1/1s. It starts to get very confusing very quickly.
It's good that we get a nice fair start, though. Neither player drawing Wild Growth. A lot of hero powers going back and forth here, but double Nourish, one in each hand. Things are going to speed up very soon. BoarControl doesn't have Ultimate Infestation, though he now has a second Nourish, so I guess that kind of evens the playing field a little.
Yeah, he does really wish he had the good old Ultimate Infestation in hand, because he could have gone Innovate, Nourish for ramp again into Ultimate Infestation. He is, however, just 360 windmill slamming, I believe is the expression, these Wispies onto the board.
One turn too soon for Bozzzton to answer with a Spreading Plague, so the only punish swipe. Though maybe Bozzzton just leaves this and plans to Spreading Plague next turn? Is that crazy?
I think you've got to be very, very cautious playing a Spreading Plague against a bunch of 1/1s going into your opponent's turn 6, because this, I feel like, is one of the common mistakes that is made, is you should be playing Spreading Plague against minions with more than 1 health as the Malygos Druid, because otherwise trades them all away, gets rid of all the 1/1s, and BoarControl could potentially play his own Spreading Plague, which you then struggle to deal with because you're not playing Savage Roar.
And like you said, it's a very intricate dance. It's incredibly difficult to manage matchups, especially matchups involving Spreading Plague, so Druid Mirrors.
Like, I think this is just a swipe turn. I think you get it out of the way right now because you don't really want to lead up to a Spreading Plague on the following turn because of the reasons I mentioned, the possibility of a counter Plague. Bozzzton, however, disagrees. He was clearly very...
Oh, he almost cast that swipe.
Yeah, he was conflicted as to how he should approach that. And the ultimate punish isn't there with double Savage Roar just for the game. But there's a lot of damage that can come through now.
That is insane, that because of the Innovate in BoarControl's hand,
he could have won.
He may have been able to do that. Do you think he slams down the Tyrant as well here? Goes as powerful as he can. That's the second Savage Roar. Oh.
So he's definitely going to be thinking, I think BoarControl will make the read now. Oh, maybe BoarControl will make the read that swipe is there because Bozzzton was so hesitant to play the Twig.
Yeah, you could read this either way, couldn't you, really?
It's very, very difficult decision.
Because Bozzzton definitely showed that he was about to play another card.
Yes.
Time waits for no one.
But BoarControl, you know, he wanted to nourish there because he didn't want to play the spreading. I don't think he wanted to play the Soul of the Forest yet, because then that stops the ability for his own Spreading Plague. Because he was trying to find Spreading Plague, I think, of his own on that turn.
How strange is this? We're looking at potentially the best swipe we've ever seen in our lives, but it's going to be that Spreading Plague.
I mean, this is the best swipe it's possible to get.
Right. I don't know. The Wisps could all be 10-1s or something. It'd be a better swipe.
I don't know. I am very interested to hear Bozzdton's perspective on this, because you are playing this going into turn 6 for your opponent after they've just drawn 3 cards off of Nourish. The chance that you get Spreading Plagued here is very, very high.
Spreading Plagued?
Spreading Plagued.
I like
You've got
that.
Play Dead on the mind.
It's not there, though. So BoarControl is in a tough spot now. Maybe BoarControl playing the Tyrant gave Bozzdton the read that the Spreading Plague's not there.
That's also a valid point.
What to do?
And now for BoarControl. Oh, is the best he can do. Soul of the Forest and trade in gets punished pretty hard by a Branching Paths from Bozzdton just to trade evenly away, so he doesn't want to go for that.
Okay.
Man, this game is very interesting indeed. I suppose by killing away some of the Scarabs, it means the power of Branching Paths is somewhat lessened.
That swipe's looking good again, though. Bozzdton does have the opportunity to trade in these 3 Scarabs and then swipe a minion to clear a lot of this board, but maybe it's not enough of this board. He does clear a lot of the board with swipe this turn, actually. Swipe, hidden the weapon.
Yeah, he clears off enough of the board to survive is the important thing. Especially as the Scarabs will all survive with a little bit of health left over.
Yep.
And Bozzdton here is very, very happy to go for the swipe, because he knows, first of all, if he doesn't, there's a good chance he just dies in the next couple of turns. But also the possibility of a counter plague now is pretty bad. Only getting 3 Scarabs. Bozzdton's very okay with that.
BoarControl, not so okay with that. Though it does give him a turn to play Malfurion, I guess. He can get some of these taunt minions out, prepare himself for the late game, but still no ultimate infestation present. Still hasn't had an opportunity to use that second Nourish.
Yeah, he hasn't really needed to go for the second Nourish, because, I mean, the first one was interesting enough already going for the draw. I think it showed just how desperate he was for a Spreading Plague of his own to try and set up that pretty much unlosable situation.
Bozzdton also not playing either of his Nourishes is a bit strange to see for a Druid, but Bozzdton's starting to get himself in that position where he's got that twig ready to be broken. He can fill up his hand with another 5 cards once he empties this hand.
Yeah.
And he's not going to be too far away from just winning the game himself.
He just wants to find that second swipe, and he wants to find Malagos, and he wants to find them right now. That's probably a pretty big reason for his hesitance to play swipe in the first place, actually, is the fact that he had twig ready to roll. And he knew that as soon as he found Malagos, Malagos swipe is how you win this matchup. It's how you close it out definitively in your favor.
So this is nice, though. Bozzdton casting the Nourish, filling up his mana crystals, playing the Branching Paths, emptying his hand a little bit. Armor and attack, sure. Trying to get ready for that ultimate infestation as soon as he can. Again, to find that Malagos, to find that swipe.
Yeah, I suppose the benefit of killing off the Scarab is probably just about worth the 6 armor, but I wouldn't have hated to see more armor gained as well there. Just anything that sets up for more powerful draw options like the Nourish or the Ultimate Infestation, I am very happy to see, because again, Malagos and Swipe on the next turn, if he can find those in a timely fashion, the game is pretty much over.
The moment Bozzdton draws his second Spreading Plague, he'll be feeling more comfortable as well, because that will mean if BoarControl does then come out with another big board with Violet Teachers or anything, then Bozzdton can just protect himself from that. Gives him even more time to find that Malagos and just win the game. I don't know, Derek. BoarControl really looking like he's in a tough spot for this game. He finally casts that second nourish to draw more cards. There's Spreading Plague. Okay, finally he gets one.
Yeah, he does get his own Spreading Plague. It is probably just going to be pretty useless for the rest of the game until he makes a big board, Bozzzton plagues, and then BoarControl plagues in response once again. It's probably the only way it's going to get much value here. I think he's really looking to find, well, the Whispering Woods and the Soul of the Forest, just to really make sure that he can get that wide board and try and kill Bozzzton. Because like you said, the onus is on BoarControl to do something here. He knows that Malygos could very well come down on this turn, and that would probably just be lights out.
It's not coming down just yet, though.
Yeah,
Alexstrasza is.
This is really, really nice. You can get down the Spellstone as well to get a little bit more damage through to face. There's actually a chance that he breaks the twig and launches Ultimate Infestation of face as well.
I was thinking about that. It empties the hand enough so that he gets the full 5 cards from it.
It's quite close, actually. It would get the Druid down to 20... 18. They'd be in range of Malygos double Moonfire, I believe, which is a very real consideration. You could just get the lethal on the very next turn.
Leaves BoarControl having to deal with this Alexstrasza as well, or having to heal himself, or having to do both, really.
And he's going for it.
Oh boy. It's going to be the Lich King, though.
So kind of, as we've seen, this is actually so characteristic of Bozzzton's Malygos Druid play, is I still think, I will admit, I am too rigid with the play. I always want to be looking for Malygos Swipe in this matchup, or Malygos Moonfire to close things out. Whereas he has consistently shown in his playstyle with this deck a real willingness to just ignore the combo. He just realizes he doesn't need it. 2 8/8 here. What does a druid, what does a token druid do to deal with this? I'm still not even certain that it was correct. Like, I think there was real consideration to just go for the Alexstrasza on this turn, then you go for the UI, and then you probably draw the Malygos. But then if Malygos is the bottom card in your deck, that's the punish for not going for that play. So this is maybe the lower power level, but much more consistent play.
Well, Bozzzton's managed to develop this huge board. He's even got the anti-magic shell in his hand if he needed to make it any bigger, but he just doesn't. He's got this position now where he's got 2 big chunky minions. He doesn't really need to develop anything else at all, which means he won't be playing into Spreading Plague any further. And BoarControl either defends himself now or dies. He's not going to be dealing with these minions anytime soon.
This looks to me an awful lot by BoarControl. It's going to be feeling the pressure.
I think, Derek, he's been Spreading Played.
You're Spreading Played yourself in this instance, BoarControl. And again, not necessarily the easiest of turns. Like, there's reasoning for Moonfire and UI on one of the guys, kill off the other 2. You only push 2 damage to face then.
Malfurion is not entirely what I expected either. Again, Bozzzton going wider on the board. There is still a second Spreading Plague somewhere in BoarControl's deck, but I guess it just doesn't matter too much.
Yeah, this is actually quite cute because he can make spiders with the Malfurion, and then he can go naturalize hero power for attack, plus Moonfire, which allows him to connect 8 damage to face at the same time. I think I would have preferred spiders to be made there, due to the fact that it is stronger against a Spreading Plague in response, because you can then just kill off the taunt straight away.
Yeah, I was expecting to see spiders as well.
But the core of this turn being that you get to kill off 2 scarabs with your effect, and then get to connect the the Lich King through to face. I think it's the reason why I like this play, even though I would have done it slightly differently.
Either way, this is looking like lights out for BoarControl. He has the potential to gain 24 armor this turn, but that's not enough. Never mind, he actually top decks the second Spreading Plague.
Doesn't have the Soul of the Forest, which is the real card he needed in order to combo with it.
Spreading Plague, Branching Path doesn't really seem to do anything. Oh, it's so annoying. And again, when you're at the Token Druid, you're in this position where you're having to just throw down Spreading Plagues to survive. That's not how you win the game. So he goes with the Violet Teacher instead.
Yeah, and I think we can see without putting any taunts in a way, there's just going to be so much damage that can be pushed directly into BoarControl's face.
16 with the minions and the anti-magic shell, 19 with the hero power, 24 with Death Coil. Still not quite enough, but as good as at this point. Bozzzton just not caring about the second Spreading Plague at all. If BoarControl picks up the second Soul of the Forest now, maybe he has a chance to come back.
That's what I'm trying to work through in my head. Like,
is this
the anti-magic shell into like swipe is just so much ability to clear off the stuff. But maybe if he gets the exact draw of Soul of the Forest here, he's in the game.
Yeah, never mind. It would have been great because Bozzzton would have had to get through all of those Scarabs first. The 2/2s would have survived. If there was a Death and Decay Death Knight card in the hand, then it would have been a different story.
Got to be said though, lovely play from BoarControl last time, giving himself maybe the out of Soul of the Forest. Whereas if he'd just gone Spreading Plague there,
it just
looked like the most obvious play. That was just it.
Yep.
Yeah, the game was just over.
Agree, that's one of those situations you play to win, not play to survive. Even though he didn't win. But he tried.
Gave it a good shot.
My thoughts are plagued.
He is, however, at 22 health, so if he goes for Branching Path, double armor, swipe armor with hero power, probably still just too much damage he's taking them.
Death, my thoughts are plagued.
Yeah, it would still be lethal. Even just with the anti-magic shell.
Yeah.
But forget the fact Bozzzton also has Death Coil and Swipe that he can play on the same turn. Well, it's looking like that is going to be it for BoarControl's Token Druid. That just leaves him with Death Rattle Hunter, which is fine against Malygos Druid, actually, and good against Shadowwalk Shaman. So BoarControl's still in an okay spot this series.
Yeah, I would argue that it's, like you said, it's fine against both. I think there's actually a surprising amount of counterplay from both decks.
Okay.
As Bozzzton, taking the win there in a game that could have very easily gone very differently. I think in a large portion of the games there, when BoarControl has gone Nourish for draw on turn 5 and then doesn't have Spreading Plague on turn 6, he very often would have had that, and that would have been a completely unrecognizably different game there.
Do you think that was a little bit too risky then? The only thing I can think of for Bozzzton to make that play is that BoarControl had just played an Arcane Tyrant, therefore there's no Spreading Plague in hand. That's the only sort of way I can justify it if I'm putting myself in Bozzzton's shoes.
Yeah. I suppose that's a bit of a tip-off that maybe he doesn't have the Spreading Plague, but I mean, well, I would have swiped the turn before, even before he had played the Arcane Tyrant, so who knows. But like you said, a pretty decent matchup for the Death Rattle Hunter if they can get rolling off to a nice early start. Mossy Horror can obviously be very useful to get through that Spreading Plague.
Yeah.
But it really comes down to either the early aggression that you get through Egg, Playdead, Terrascale Stalker, or in my experience, just surviving till Katharina.
Yeah.
She'll get the job done on her own.
So these cards, none of which are really premium, however, that's one of the beautiful things about tracking, is that they get discarded. He doesn't have to draw them anymore.
Yep, I agree. Grizzly is pretty much the only card that does anything. So go for it. Maybe you can get Grizzly into Cube Playdead, which, hey, there you go. It's far from the be-all and end-all against Malygos Druid. It's much more effective against Token Druid, I find, where it's just a big old wall that they can't get through.
It still is a lot of damage. It does actually add up.
Yeah. And it never dies. Unless they naturalize your Grizzlies, they are sticking around forever and ever.
Spider Bomb not looking particularly relevant given Bozzzton doesn't have a single minion in his hand. He might just slam it onto the board. It's not great against Mali Druid anyway.
I think the potential upside later is good enough.
Kill a Lich King.
Yeah. Kill yourself a Lich King, Alexstrasza, even just like playing it into a turn where they are more likely to throw down a minion. Like playing it going into turn 8, I think is, or sorry, going into 8 mana for the Druid is probably a more effective way of using it.
Still no eggs available for board control. However, as you said, that Grizzly and the Cube and the Play Dead might end up being a factor here. Bozzzton does have a Naturalize that he could use to deal with a Witchwood Grizzly. I don't even know if he bothers, though. How, to what extent does he want to play around Cube Play Dead? That's the question.
It's not that bad on a Grizzly. Like, at the moment, Bozzzton, I think, is very much focused on his own game plan. Any game where you get a Twig, you pretty much just pray that they don't have an Ooze, and if they don't have it, you are very likely winning the game.
Yep.
I find it's so important in this matchup, because if you do make one huge turn, one big pushback with Malygos, Swipe, Alexstrasza, Lich King, Malygos, Alexstrasza, whatever, a whole big turn with 20 mana's worth of stuff, the Hunter really struggles to come back in one fell swoop from that.
So Witchwood Grizzly is a 3/6 right now. Bozzzton could deal with it with a Swipe hero power, but does he want to use up the Swipe unnecessarily like that? Maybe he would prefer to Naturalize it. Maybe he'd prefer to just leave it.
Yeah, Swipe is really good.
Yeah.
Because you got the Twig active, the chances of him drawing Malygos in the next few cards naturally is obviously quite low. And he doesn't have any card draw outside of the Ultimate Infestation, which will come after the natural course of Twig breakage, given that he's looking to break the Twig on turn 8, I think is what happens when you play it on turn 4. So it's not perfect, but if he can find himself Nourish, Wild Growth, or Malygos itself in the next few turns, this is looking good. And so, in short, I like saving the Swipe.
So what else was board control considering on that turn? Do you think he was thinking Ziliax?
I think it was maybe... Nah, I mean, I was going to say he was considering just throwing down Cube because that has more attack. But no, like... I think he's more just sad that this Grizzly doesn't do anything. Like, this is the biggest threat in his hand, and it's a 3/6.
Bozzzton just
This doesn't kill Druid ever.
hovering straight over that Swipe. He's going to use it, and wow, okay. That is a big old resource gone. Board control not looking happy about that one either, though.
Yeah, well, I mean, this was his only powerful play, was Cube Play Dead on the thing. And so, for Bozzzton, saving the Nourish, I can totally, the Naturalize, sorry, because it's more powerful later on. And again, this is a Bozzzton style of play with the Malygos Druid. Very willing to throw away his combo pieces, because he's thinking, again, 20 mana's worth of stuff in one turn is good enough to win, whether or not I play it with the Malygos.
I'm now looking at board control's hand, and I'm thinking, is Ziliax the best hope he's got? Like, if he can get Ziliax to stick, is Ziliax Cube Play Dead that bad? It's still 3 attack. It's still difficult to kill them all.
I suppose.
You might even want to just take the second cube, play the first cube, and then cube it.
You cube. I wonder if he'll be looking at going for Devilsaur Egg, Play Dead this turn, and then cubing his egg on the following turn.
Okay.
Gives him the kind of the highest amount of attack in the immediate, would be the way I would go about it.
Yep, I was gonna counter with cubing eggs against a deck that runs Spreading Plague is a little bit dodgy. However, Board Control has that Mossy Horror in his hand available to him, so actually cubing an egg seems like a good shout. And he's actually going to save the Play Dead as well.
Interesting. Yeah, I suppose like if he can kill off his egg with Mossy Horror, or even just cubing his own egg, like he doesn't want to go cube the egg and then Play Dead the cube, because you don't want more eggs, you want more Devilsaurs.
But it doesn't matter. If it baits out a Spreading Plague and then Board Control can just Mossy Horror to kill all of the eggs, he ends up with all of the Devilsaurs anyway.
Good point. Yeah, that's a good point actually. Interesting play from both sides, though, to say the least, as it looks like the the attacking with the twig. Actually, no, it's not. I was going to say for Bozzzton, he will be slowing down. He just goes coin Alexstrasza, break the twig,
that's what I was
ultimate
thinking.
infestation.
Puts ball control down to 10 immediately, fills up Bozzzton's hand and his board. Oh dear, ball control is going to struggle with this one now.
Yeah, which again is what I've liked a lot from how the way Bozzzton has been playing this. I would play this differently, and I think in this game and the last game, his play just has been better. It's been a very nice way of using just the cards in his deck as stuff, rather than the initial combos they're meant for. Because again, what if Malagos is the bottom card in his deck? Why play to that risk that it could happen?
Cora's gonna come back and make us eat our words, isn't she? As there's nowhere near enough damage for Bozzzton to be afraid this turn, even of a Katharina into a King Crush. So as predicted, the twig gets broken. Ultimate Infestation will be putting ball control down to 9.
Oh man, like if Bozzzton wants to, he could even go innovate Naturalize as well, just for even more stuff on the board, especially if he gets a Tyrant out of it as well. Just to protect his board, keep everything going face.
Yeah, he's doing it.
He just wants to protect everything that he possibly can. There's a good chance that we see another Ultimate Infestation on the next turn again, just for more damage through to the face. And while we can see there is now double play dead along with that Spider Bomb for ball control to keep him in the game.
Spider Bomb that I said wasn't that relevant earlier on. Well, now look at it.
Don't you look a fool.
I spreading played myself.
All right, redeemed. Well done. And while ball control is slowly considering his options, now I was looking at going like Spider Bomb, Zilliax, and like magnetizing them together.
And it doesn't die.
It doesn't die, exactly. Yeah. But no.
It's a lot of health gain.
Like I was going to say, maybe that's not that bad because it's still. The Druid has to kill it to get through it, which is a lot of health gain, which you need. You're not dying then to Malagos double Moonfire.
Are you dying to Naturalize, though?
Oh, he's doing it! Wow. That's pretty sick. You get to kill off the Zilliax, the 5/5 right away. And then the Druid will have to put something else in the way if it wants to stop the Alexstrasza from dying. This is a cute play.
Bozzzton, still very close to lethal. If he had one more mana, it would just be lethal this turn with the Naturalize Ultimate Infestation Moonfire.
Well, no, because his Alexstrasza would die.
Oh, of course it would, sorry.
Or half the time, anyway.
Yeah.
He's going for the 1 in 3. Or the 2 out of 3 for his Alexstrasza to survive, sorry. And there we go. Getting the attacks through to face. This demands, again, something pretty miraculous from ball control in order to stabilize.
Zilliax is gone. Ball controls. Oh, sorry, Boston's hero power alone will kill off ball control if he doesn't taunt himself. He does have a Witchwood Grizzly in his hand.
Witchwood Grizzly will go down to a 3/6.
Yeah.
And then only has 1 Hunter's Mark. Oh man, is it close. Can't go for Katharina because that never gives a taunt anymore now that both Grizzlies have been drawn.
So he'd be able to clear the board that way, but again, the hero power just finishes him off.
Mossy Horror Hunter's Mark doesn't work because you don't put a taunt in the way.
Derek, I'm not seeing a way that ball control survives this.
If he goes for Stitch Tracker into Spider Bomb, I don't think that does it either.
I think both Spider Bombs have been used up. One was discarded with the tracking with the egg.
There's nothing.
Ball control went undefeated for the first 7 rounds of the Swiss.
And it seems like now the only thing that can stop him is a Swede, having lost only to Orange and Bozzzton now so far at Dreamhack Winter. Unfortunately, we have to say goodbye to the #1 seed going into the top 16 BoarControl.
That's the curse of the Swiss.
Yeah.